Okay, let me talk a little bit before while we're waiting for the technical difficulties to get resolved through the on switch. Before we start, I want to say a little bit about a couple of things that are coming up, the midterm and the project. So we have the midterms, and they're being graded as we speak, and we should have the grades done for sure after spring break, hopefully by the end of this week, but certainly by the end of spring break. A couple of things about the grading. On the multiple choice, for some reason, people had trouble with one of the ones that was really obvious. So this was the one about swaddling and rocking and singing as modes of soothing. Which number was it? Anyway, it was the one that asked why it was that swaddling and rocking and singing were modes of comfort. And for some reason, lots of people answered tactile stimulation, which was answer D. And singing is not tactile stimulation, it's auditory. So I'm afraid that's one of those multiple choice ones where it was just sort of, oh, okay, I could sort of imagine how you could get that wrong if you just weren't thinking through the fact that singing doesn't actually involve, tactile stimulation means touch, so singing doesn't actually involve touch. The answer is moderately intense stimulation, which is the answer that's written there in big broad letters in the textbook. So it's, sorry? Moderately intense stimulation. It was the first of the answers. So usually when lots of people get something wrong, it's because it's ambiguous and we kind of give an extra point. But in this one, it felt like it was just obvious that it was just a matter of people not really reading the question carefully. So we're not going to give an extra point for that in case you worried. Yeah? Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by intense and moderately. So what swaddling is doing is it's giving you constant feedback, giving constant tactile feedback to your arms and legs, right? So the babies are feeling the swaddling, they're feeling the tight wrap throughout their entire bodies. Okay, so that's about the multiple choice. In terms of the essay questions, just a reminder that it isn't enough on the essay questions to just have the right answers because you had the essay questions for a week, so you ought to have all the right answers. So the rubrics are going to include things like how well organized was it and how coherent was it and how well integrated was it. So it's not going to be just were the facts that were written in the essay the right true facts. It's were they relevant, how well did you actually answer the question as opposed to another question, and how clear and well organized it was. There'll be a makeup for the midterm for those who missed it. There were a couple of people who were sick, and that will be during office hours, and the GSIs will be getting in touch with you if you were sick to give you the details about when that midterm, when that makeup will actually be held. Okay, is that any other questions about the midterm? Okay. Now, the next project that's coming up is actually going to be the most fun and illuminating and interesting thing that you're going to do in this course by a substantial margin, and that's the project. And the way the project is going to work is that there are two video clips that are actually video clips of Bunny, who is my son, who is now 23 and 6'3" and tattooed and pierced and has a shaved head. But as you'll see, he's actually really cute now even, but he was even cuter when he was 21 months old, which you'll see in the videos. Now, these are, as you can imagine from that, pretty antique videos. These are from the days of real videotape. So they're a little fuzzier than you're probably used to if you're in 2013 and you're used to looking at things on YouTube. But you can see what he's doing and you can hear what he's saying. And you'll also notice that there's a much, much younger and prettier woman who's interacting with him. Part of the point of it, so the point about doing the videos is to try to show you that just looking at a random child in a naturalistic situation, you'll be able to see a lot of the things that we've been talking about in class. So what you're going to do for the project is you'll have one clip of him when he was 21 months old, and you'll have another clip of him when he was 4.5 years old, and the job is to look at those clips, pull out what kinds of things are interesting, and also pull out what are the differences between the way a 21-month-old is reacting to, is interacting, and behaving and talking, and the way that the same child is behaving and talking and interacting at 4.5. So you'll have a real exercise in developmental psychology right in front of you. So what's going to happen is that each of the sections will have a different set of clips, and in section this week, the GSIs will be going over a kind of tutorial, a clip that isn't actually the clip that you'll be using, and going over how you ought to analyze that. And we'll also go over an example of a previous project from a previous year that was very good and very bad. So that will give you some idea of what it is that you're supposed to be doing. And the clips are all online at the library, so you can just look at them. You can just stream them or download them. By the way, another important function that this project serves, aside from giving you a chance to actually really do some developmental psychology, is you've probably all heard the advice to public speakers about imagine your audience naked and then you won't feel intimidated by them anymore. Well, if you can imagine your professor being totally bullied and bossed around by a 21-month-old baby, then that should keep you from feeling any kind of intimidation from your professor at all either, as you will see in these tapes. Okay, and remember that the way that the project is going to work is that you'll be doing a first draft of the project that you'll hand in, and then your fellow students will do a read and an edit of the first draft, and then you'll hand in a final draft. And I strongly advise you to do more than just 2 drafts. Absolutely, the predictor for how well you do on any writing assignment is going to be how many drafts you do. It's absolutely straightforward. Studies show it, and it's pretty clear. The more drafts you do, the better the final product is going to be. Yeah. It's on the syllabus. I can't remember offhand. It should be after April 10th. Yeah. So April 10th is when the first draft is due. And one more thing which applies to both the midterm exam and to the projects, which has to do with regrading material. So the regrading policy that we have is the GSIs, on pain of death and disfavor from their professor, are not allowed to regrade the essays. Maybe not quite pain of death, but anyway, they really are not allowed to regrade the essays, regrade any material at all. So if you're unhappy with your grade, there's a 2-part process. The first one is go talk to the GSI who graded it, and talk to them and get a sense of why it is that they gave you the grade that they did. And then if you're still unhappy with it, which could happen sometimes, people make mistakes, then you can give the essay to me to regrade. And I may give it a higher grade, and I may give it a lower grade. So you're going to have to do a little risk assessment about who do you think is meaner in general, me or the GSIs, before you decide about regrading. And that's obviously a way of keeping the incentives from just being that everybody's always badgering the GSIs to raise their grades. Is that clear to everybody? Okay, are there any other questions about any of that, about the midterm or, yeah?
So the video is part of the, like, are you going to post, like, how to...
Yeah, in section we'll give you the link. And we'll also give a kind of outline of how you should do the analysis, what the various parts of the project should be like, and that has a link to where the videos are. Okay. Any other questions about that? Okay. And anything else that we were supposed to ask? Oh, sorry, that's right. Yeah, another thing is, today's the last day to hand in type in your mid-semester GSI evaluations, and this is really a great opportunity for you and for us and for the GSIs to actually get some feedback in time to change things in the rest of the class. So if there are things that you think could be going better in sections, or for that matter in lectures, things that we ought to be doing that we're not doing, or things that we could change, then this is a chance to do it in a way that will actually affect your life and not just the lives of the students who will take this course in the future. So please, and we've had very, very few of those evaluations filled out, so please go back and fill out those evaluations. Okay, any other questions? Okay, So there's the midterm and the project. We just talked about those. So what I'm going to do today for the rest of this lecture is talk about some ideas of, talk about some different theories of social development, how children come to understand and deal with the social world around them. And essentially, these theories fall into the same general, some of the same general categories as the theories of cognitive development that we talked about. There's really just one difference, and that difference is that the information processing theories that apply to cognitive development don't really apply to social development in the same way. So whereas we have 5 theories for cognitive development, remember the nativist, innate modularity ones, the learning empiricist ones, the constructivist ones, and then the social ones, and then the information processing ones. For social development, we're only going to talk about those first 4 kinds of theories, but they will map onto the ones that we talked about in cognitive development. So in general, the people who are looking at social development are making the same kinds of contrasts that the people in cognitive development are making, but the details about the kinds of theories that they advance are different, and I'll talk about some of the details of those theories in what happens now. So the sort of equivalent of the nativist modularity theories, the theories that really emphasize what you're born with and emphasize nature rather than nurture, are various kinds of evolutionary and biological theories of social development. So one whole set of theories emphasize the ecological significance of childhood. And that means the fact that we have, that stems from the fact that the fact that we have childhood is itself one of the really distinctive things about human beings from an evolutionary perspective. And I've mentioned this several times. We have by far the longest childhood of any primate, in fact of any animal. So we have an exceptionally long childhood, an exceptionally long period of helplessness. And that's actually interesting and important and seems to be connected to some of our other capacities. So one whole set of work emphasizes the fact that there's something special about childhood, and especially special about childhood for human beings, that makes that our developmental pattern different from the developmental patterns of other animals. Another line of work that is kind of grounded in evolution is work on what's called change and plasticity. So the first idea is just that childhood is particularly long. But another interesting set of evolutionary questions concern when should an organism be plastic? In other words, when should it be flexible and change its behavior? And when should it just stick with one particular way of behaving? And the reason why this is interesting is it's not just an issue that comes up for learning or for development for human beings. There are lots of examples in evolution of animals that are plastic in the sense that they even change their physical characteristics in response to the environment. So for example, there are fish that actually change their sex depending on the concentration of nutrients in the water that they grow up in. So if they grow up in water that has a high concentration, they'll become females, and I'm trying to think of which way it goes. If it's high concentration, sorry, the other way around. If it's a high concentration, they're more likely to become males, and if it's a low concentration, they're more likely to become females. So there's this weird phenomenon in lots of animals of what's called environment-dependent plasticity. People and animals changing what they're like depending on the environment in which they find themselves. And there's a really interesting set of evolutionary results and arguments about when that happens. When would it pay an animal to be plastic and flexible and change what it does in relationship to the environment? And when would it be better for an animal to decide this is what I'm going to do and I'll just stick to this for the rest of my life? I'm just going to stick to this for the rest of my life. And I put Willard Frankenhus as someone who's looked at this. Is that clear to everybody? That idea? So learning is one example, obviously, a very dramatic example of environment-dependent plasticity. But the idea of environment-dependent plasticity, it doesn't justify to learning. It applies to lots of other aspects and facets of development. Another example of a theory that's very rooted in evolution and biology is a theory we're going to talk about much more later on, which is Bowlby's attachment theory. So attachment theory is the theory about how it is that moms and other caregivers and babies come to love each other, to be close to one another. And Bowlby hypothesized that exactly because we have such a long period of dependence as opposed to other creatures, it's unusually important for our babies to figure out how to get other people to take care of them. And he thought that this process of attachment, of love between mothers and babies was rooted in this evolutionary imperative for babies to figure out how do I get caregivers to actually invest and take care of me. So that's another example of a theory that has some roots in evolution and more recently actually has some roots in genetics as well, with the thought that babies might be genetically designed to have different ways of interacting with caregivers in order to get the investment and care that they need from caregivers. So Bowlby's attachment theory is another example of a theory that's rooted in evolution and that believes that a lot of what we see in babies are things that are there from the beginning. They're things that are rooted in their genes. Another example of a kind of evolutionary and biological theory, this is Jerome Kagan's theory, which again we're going to talk about in some more detail later on. And this is a theory about temperament. So I think we mentioned this in class a couple of times. Kagan has some evidence that literally from the time babies are born, they already have different temperaments, different ways of interacting with the world. So some babies from the time they're born are shy and withdrawn and can't take too much stimulation, and other babies from the time they're born are curious and bold and want a lot of stimulation. And those seem to be genetically based differences in the sort of general approach that babies have towards the world. And this set of ideas is also rooted in evolutionary theory, because one of the ideas is that since we human beings don't know what environment we're going to find ourselves in, we exist in a much wider range of environments, a much less predictable range of environments than other creatures, it's to our advantage to actually have a wide range of temperaments in our population. So you might wonder, well, why would it be from an evolutionary genetic perspective that you'd have some babies that were shy and some babies that were bold? If being bold was more effective, then why aren't all babies bold? If being shy was better, why aren't all babies shy? And the idea here is since you don't really know what environment you're going to end up in, if you have, say, a population that has a lot, if you have a population that's just bold risk takers and you end up in a very dangerous environment, they're all going to get wiped out. If you have a population that's just shy stay-at-home types, then you're in an environment where you would actually do better if you went and found the better fruits that are over the river and in another part of the forest, then you won't thrive as well as you would have if you were more risk-taking. But having a balance of the shy people who just stay in place and don't try to go for danger, and then the bolder people, the risk takers who actually go out and take risks, that actually allows the population overall to thrive in a way that it wouldn't if you just had one kind of temperament or another kind of temperament. Is that clear to everybody? So actually having this range of different innate temperaments lets the entire species or the entire group thrive in a way that they wouldn't if you just had one temperament versus another temperament. So an example of how this kind of evolutionary, some of these evolutionary arguments play out, there's some evidence, for instance, that if you look at girls who are growing up with stepfathers as opposed to biological fathers, they seem to reach puberty more quickly, which is sort of surprising finding. So one idea has been that just like those fish that decide whether to be male or female, depending on how many resources are there, the unconsciously, those girls are figuring out how likely they are to be taken care of and are getting signals that they are not as likely to be taken care of by a step parent as by a biological parent, and therefore they're maturing more quickly. Now, there's some debate about whether that's actually the right explanation, but the phenomenon actually does seem to be true. So there's an example where a particular developmental phenomenon, sort of surprising developmental phenomenon, this association between having stepfathers and reaching puberty more quickly, it might have this kind of evolutionary biological explanation. Okay, so those are the nativist kinds of theories. Just as we have these empiricist learning, they haven't looked at the boys, so the phenomenon that they've noticed, and partly because it's harder to tell with boys about when they actually count as reaching puberty or not. So with girls, it's easy because you can just see when do they start menstruating. So there's an easy, straightforward measure about whether or not they reach puberty. And the finding, which is rather surprising, is that girls who are being raised by step-parents are menstruating earlier than girls who are being raised by biological parents. Okay, so learning theories say that your social behavior isn't primarily the result of evolutionary pressures or genetics, it's the result of your environment. And learning theories can take a couple of different forms. One of the classic kinds of learning theories are reinforcement theories. We've talked about these in class before when we were talking about language, for instance. And the idea here is that children do things, and then as a result of the parent, and then parents either reinforce it positively or negatively, so parents either give them rewards or punish them, and then as a result of that reward or punishment, the children either do the same thing over again or stop doing this. And as we mentioned earlier when we were talking about cognition, there's lots of evidence that pigeons and rats and other non-human animals learn and can learn really quite complicated things through this process of positive and negative reinforcement. One of the interesting example phenomena that comes out of this is that actually it turns out that the best way to make a behavior become very strong is to do what's called intermittent reinforcement. So in other words, if you do something and you get reinforced every single time you do it, you're actually less likely to continue to do it than if you do something and you occasionally get a big reward, but you can't predict whether you're going to get a big reward or not. Has everybody kind of got the logic behind that? Well, the logic may be not clear, but that's the empirical phenomenon. And this is supposed to be part of the explanation, for instance, why we all are insane about our iPhones and, are having an incredibly wonderful conversation with a fantastic date and then go into the bathroom to check to see if you've got any email, right? What seems like these totally bizarre, addictive iPhone behaviors. I'm sure nobody in this room has ever had any of these behaviors. And the thought is that part of the reason for that is because sometimes you do get an email that's really the great, wonderful email that's, the message from the guy who's setting up the date in the first place. But you don't actually know when those great emails are going to come or aren't going to come, so you end up having this behavior where you're constantly clicking the email button, hoping that maybe this is going to be the one that's the great positive reward. And if you look at children, there's some evidence that happens with children too. So one of the examples is the paradox of children nagging. One of the things that very often happens in interactions between children and parents is this phenomenon where the child does something and then the parent says, no, don't do that, and then the child does it again, and no, don't do that, and the child does it again, no, please just stop it, and then finally the parent says, so would you please stop it, you're driving me crazy, right? And that is an extremely common parental behavior, which I can tell you I have engaged in myself on many occasions. And that, of course, is exactly the way to make sure that the child continues to do whatever it is that they're doing, because instead of having really clear reinforcement, sometimes they're getting negative reinforcement, but sometimes they're not getting any negative reinforcement. So that's kind of the flip side of the intermittent reinforcement. Yeah? Yeah, kind of like gambling, exactly. Yeah, very much like gambling. So gambling, in fact, it turns out that the guys in Las Vegas really study this literature on reinforcement very carefully and make sure that the payouts for the slot machines, for example, are exactly the payouts that the psychological studies show are most likely to lead to this kind of addictive, constant, intermittent reinforcement behavior. Good reason not to go to Las Vegas. So it's kind of like the children are gambling about, okay, am I going to be able to get away with this, or is this going to be the one that's going to be the big negative payout, or vice versa. So in practice, parents do best if they're very, very clear about really strong negative reinforcements or really strong positive reinforcements, rather than kind of shifting back and forth and sometimes getting a little bit of positive reinforcement or a little bit of negative reinforcement and sometimes getting big positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement. There's another whole range of learning theories, and these learning theories suggest that it's not so much that children are learning from other people because their positive behaviors are being reinforced positively or their negative behaviors are being reinforced negatively. It's that children are drawn to imitate exactly what it is that they see other people around them doing. And this goes back to probably the first person who argued for this was Albert Bandura. He did a famous experiment with these Bobo dolls. These were kind of clown dolls that you can punch and that fall down and then come back up again. I think kids actually still play with these things. And he showed that the children who saw someone really violently aggressively punching one of these Bobo dolls were more likely to violently and aggressively punch the dolls themselves when they had the opportunity. And we've already seen when we were talking about infancy that imitation is a really deep part of children's behaviors that babies are imitating literally from the time they're born, and they're imitating very pervasively all the way through infancy. There's actually a really interesting phenomenon that people have noticed more recently and talked about. Not only do babies imitate, but babies also seem to do something called over-imitation. So for example, suppose you show the baby, let's say I'm taking this chalk and I'm putting it in my bag. Well, in some experiments, what you can do is just show the person taking the chalk and putting it in the bag. But you can also show the person taking the chalk and then turning it over and over like this, and then turning it around in the air 3 times and putting it behind their head, and then putting it in the bag. And the rather surprising phenomenon is that 3-year-olds, when you do that, will actually imitate all these sort of stupid, unnecessary parts of the which is actually putting the chalk inside the bag. So not only are children imitating, but sometimes they're actually imitating more than seems rational when they're imitating. And again, that suggests that, and interestingly, chimpanzees don't do this. So chimpanzees, if they saw that, would just sort of ignore all the bells and whistles and just go and put the chalk in the bag. So there's something about human social learning that seems to be especially tuned to all the little, but sometimes they look as if they're over-imitating. They look as if they're imitating the details of what you do, even when there isn't an obvious reason for imitating the details of what you do. So an example in real life about this is looking at children's reactions to, say, violent video games or violent media in general. And there's a lot of debate about whether doing something like watching violent TV or engaging in violent video games really makes children more violent or not. But there's at least some evidence that, say, children who watch a violent movie are more likely to behave in an aggressive way themselves immediately afterwards. So the fact that children are so good at this kind of social imitation suggests that they might be imitating negative things that they see around them as well as imitating positive things that they see. Okay, let's take a brief, we'll just do like 2 minutes explanation break, just to go over the difference between these nativist evolutionary biological theories of social development and the empiricist learning theories of social development.